Welcome to Discovering the World of Natural Health. Remedy this naturally at 1140 Benvenue Road. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I come to you on this 20th day of December. 5 more days till the coming of the Christ child and celebrating the opportunity to have life and have it abundantly. It's all there for us to choose or not to choose. On this particular program on December the 20th, I'm going to share with you some of the healing foods of the Bible. Now, healing foods. Here's where I want you to understand I'm coming from. We have the opportunity to eat, ingest, and have for us the different foods we need in order to get the most maintenance out of the vehicle we live in, which is our body. And with that in mind, I want you to understand that this program is offered for reference, for you to have a place to be able to get information. It's not working with the medical, trying to get a advice or recommendation. And if you choose to do these things, listen to these things, you are doing them because you believe that God's purpose in His pharmacy from the Garden of Eden was there to be able to learn from. If you got a medical problem, go find qualified professional to help with that immediately. So with that in mind, let's go and talk about what is important. We're going to go back and we think about that the Bible has a roadmap within the covers of that for us to be able to know what to do and how to be able to be involved in our lives if you want to take and use it from a biblical principle. You'll also understand that there are other religions that have different books, the Talmud, they have information in them that is natural and customary for the people to use for their own wellness. And with that in mind, and since you know that I'm going to share it from a biblical perspective, that we've got to go back right in the first chapter of Genesis. There is say, hello, this is how it starts out, and this is what we work with. And what I'm talking about in the first chapter of Genesis, verse 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth the green herb and such as many seed, and the fruit of the tree yielding fruit after its kind, which may have seed in itself upon the earth. And it was so done. So, if we look at according to the Bible, the promised land flowed with milk and honey. The nourishment needed. But the promised land was even more than that. It was cornucopia, overflowing with all kinds of healthful, healing foods. So, excuse me. What is going on in the beginning, and how does it affect us as we continue on? In Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter, the 8th verse, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olive, and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it. We, in the very beginning, were given as a people everything that was needed in order for us to be successful. How much of that applies today, and how much of that can you use to be able to implement that there's no scarcity? Now, growing up, some of you can relate to this, and some of you who are the younger generation will not know what I'm talking about, so to speak. There were an orchard. There were fig bushes. I'm just thinking about what was in the vicinity I was raised in. If we didn't have it at our home, we would go to my Aunt Lena's, my Aunt Mary's, and Uncle Carl's. They had a beautiful orchard. Just go out and pick the apples right off the tree and eat what you wanted then, and then rest of it, cook it, dry it, and have food, because the convenience of the box stores was not there. And the neat thing about it is the things were fixed and preserved in the most natural way it could be done. And that's what was good for it. Nearly every book in the Bible contains references to foods of the day. And here's the other thing. There was the food, and then there was the rules governing their cultivation, preparation, and consumption. We were given back then in the Old Testament how it should be, how it was prepared, how it was consumed, and how it was even cultivated, and even on when to let the land rest on the seventh year. Don't plant anything. The land even needs a rest. So with that in mind, I'm just trying to get you to even think about or recognize that we have the opportunity to be able to enjoy the fullness of what was and what can be. So, the Bible begins with the book of Genesis 1:29, when God tells Adam, I have given you every plant yielding seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And the neat thing about the seed is for the next crop, the next season, and ends with flowering fruit trees in the book of Revelation. Flowering fruit trees. Talks about a river. Talks about a tree with food for every month of the year. It's there for us. Bible scholars have been studying the foods of the Bible for centuries. We're still doing it. But only recently have modern nutritionalists realized that what was good for the people thousands of years ago is just as good, maybe even better, for everyone today, to be able to have that for us to be able to work with and to choose, and realize the value of the living plants and foods have a purpose in the cultivation of who we are as individuals. So, Bible cuisine is naturally healthful. But few, if any, of today's nutritionalists can find fault with what the Bible talks about as food. And it has a purpose under heaven for us who live and be able to adore the heavenlies, especially since we just had the full moon and how beautiful it was with the warmth of the evening and being out here in end of December and enjoy that. Nearly all help maintain good health, and many of them contain substances that actually combat disease. Scientists have identified dozens of foods that may help prevent cancer, heart disease, and other illnesses. Foods that ancient people took for granted. And probably we don't even know they exist, so to speak, unless it's someone like myself who has realized going through medical crisis years ago was able to say the food and the things that were given changed the people as to who they are. These ancient people, excuse me, had the dietary laws of the Talmud to tell them how to prepare certain foods. And there was also foods that they were supposed to avoid entirely. Leave them alone. They're not good for us. And were second rules for good health. According to the Magic and Medicine of Plants, and actually this was published by Reader's Digest Association, in quote, the Jews of the Old Testament in this period of time are remembered for their high standard of public health and hygiene. Not only was the food important, but cleanliness was also very much something to pay attention to. The use of plants for medicinal purposes was an acceptable custom. And the reason I do a disclaimer about what I'm talking about is because the medical establishment in the pharmakeia, as we know it today, are in control as to mainly what is being taught and what is being used and what has been accepted. And therefore, if you're not in agreement with them and the technology that's there and anything out of it, then, and you give advice, then it's called practicing medicine without a license. So it's better to say, look, this is information, we're sharing it with you, not prescribing, not diagnosing, but we need to understand the foundation of where we came from was with plants, herbs, and dealing in a spiritual realm of God being in control and not being in where we curse the name of God, as so much is the case today. So, the use of plants for medicinal purposes was an acceptable custom. Custom meaning it was a way of life. And we've gotten away from it. And look at what the diet is. And I believe a lot of behavior abnormally is due to the fact that the things that we strive to live off of are not really food. They are things that were made by us in order for us to control what people have to eat. So that's a big difference there. The book of Ecclesiastes, in a sense, authorizes and encourages this practice. The Lord created medicine from the earth. And a sensible man will not despise them. You know, many plants were used medicinally in Old Testament times and even in New Testament times. But going back to the foundation, going back to where it came from, and instead of processed sugar, biblical people use natural honey as a sweetener, or the honeyed pulp of fresh fruits. The sweetness was there, and it was for our benefit. And I'm saying our because I'm associating myself with the people of ancient times. The eating, like I said, we had available growing up. There was grape vineyards or grapevines. There was figs. We didn't have pomegranates at home. We didn't have dates, but we got them. Cucumbers, small carrots, beans, lentils, and such health-filled herbs as dill, curcumin, or cumin, coriander, mint, turmeric, cinnamon, and cinnamon bark, saffron, mustard, rue, and bitter herbs that may have been some versatile of wild endive. Think about it. Let yourself look at what's going on. And you wonder why we have so much sickness and ill health is because what we put into it, garbage in, garbage out, health in, health out. And we've got to, and I'm trying to get the point across in this publication on December the 20th, is that we are what we eat. We are what we don't eat. And let food be our medicine according to Hippocrates. That's the goal of this particular show coming here in Christmas. Got the beautiful poinsettias. Got the beautiful things that help us to think about what can we do about and how can we become the healthy person that God gave us the privilege of being. Bread and the many grain dishes on the menu, you know, they were made with whole grains. A fiber-rich diet that we now know is critical to good health. So this stuff is coming back. People are saying, I gotta have my diet, I gotta have my poopy, gotta have fiber to make it work, and give the colon something to be able to push against, to get it on out. A fiber-rich diet that we now know is critical to good health. Barley, wheat, millet, sesame seeds, melons, and raw vegetables were common sources of fiber in biblical days. They were there. They were normal foods. And now they are the exception, not the mainstay. You know, poultry and fish were served more often than meat, which was generally reserved for the upper class or for special occasions. It is amazing how the white flour got there and people start using it because it didn't spoil as much. But all of a sudden, when the milling started and the bread was made out of white flour, then people's health started to go down because they weren't getting the grains, nutrients, and fiber. Fruits and nuts such as almonds, pistachios, and walnuts were plentiful and often used as ingredients for dessert. Nuts, we now know, are great for regulating blood sugar and lowering cholesterol. Nuts are important. And we need to plant a tree. And you may not get the benefit of it yourself, but the next generation, the generation that's behind us now, they need to have available these fruits and vegetables that will help give the body what it needs so it can create and maintain the healthy that we were supposed to have. You know, wine was the beverage of choice. And we're seeing a lot of that coming back now, that people are enjoying the wine, little wineries there. I mean, there's one even within 2 miles of where I was raised in Warren County that they have and brought in and making wine for the being able to do that, have a talent to make that. And today, researchers are discovering that a little wine in moderation may be just the thing for preventing heart disease. And think about European culture. Europeans drink a lot more wine, and the big word resveratrol, talking about how it helps with healthy heart, and that's important for us to understand, that there is benefit in foods and there's detriment in foods, and we've got to choose which one we want. Do we want to choose life and health, or do we want to continue and be ignorant of the fact that the sugars and the things that we're taking are causing our bodies to, I'm going to call it disintegrate, not being able to, having to hold the youthfulness that we need to as we age. Biblical cooks prepared several different varieties of cheese, which is an excellent and inexpensive protein substitute for meat. It's important to know that. Important to know that we have something that can and will sustain our life. There are, in fact, hundreds of references to plants in the Bible. We can't cover all of them, but I can bring a few of them up and help you understand some things that are available for us. And that's what I want to do in this broadcast, is that the main foods that the people of the Holy Land in biblical times used to maintain good health and fight disease, as well as the daily substance, and that you can find at your local grocery store. And in Ezekiel 47:12 it says, "And alongside the torrent there will come up, along his banks and the side on the side, all sorts of trees for food, and their fruitage must provide to be for the food, and their leafage for healing." It's there for us. Apple cider vinegar. One thing that we were probably the first one to offer this when we first went in, that apple cider vinegar, especially Bragg's, was there to be able to help instill good health and balance the pH in the body. So what about something as simple as an apple? Why is it you have, the orchard we used to go to, and I was a little child, and we would help climb and be a little monkey, shake the apples off the trees, and then we'd go home and help peel them and make applesauce and dumplings. When the apples came in, everything had apples. Strawberries came in, everything was strawberries. Whatever the plant produced at that point in time was the mainstay of what we ate. In the springtime, you know, when the asparagus came out, and right now, I noticed this week because of the surge of warmth in the temperatures, dandelion was out blooming. And do you know dandelion? Look it up. We can come in and get some capsules. Come in and get some dandelion root. Dandelion is one of the first flowers that comes about, a first plant, because not only can you do the flowers, you can do the root. And it is nutritious. It is helpful. It is something that we need to make sure that I go grazing. You may not have that pleasure. You may think it's crazy or whatever. Pick up that little flower. I'll eat that little flower. You know, we don't have the big plants that has the big roots on it here, so go from there, letting you know it is available. No biblical food is more famous, and none has gotten a worse rap than the apple. Despite the fact that Adam and Eve probably didn't even see an apple, much less munch on one. The Bible never says exactly what fruit the serpent used to tempt Eve in the Garden of Eden. Tradition holds that it was an apple, but many scholars who studied the botany of the Bible think it was more like an apricot, maybe even a citron, an orange, or a quiche. Central Asia fruits and resembles a hard flesh yellow apple. But elsewhere in the Bible, the apple gets high marks for healthful, healing powers, and modern science has such confirmed. In the Song of Solomon, he praises the apple. As the apple tree among the trees of the wood, so is my beloved among the sons. I sat down under the shade with great delight, and this fruit was sweet to my taste. Comfort me with apple. The Greeks, who lived during biblical terms, believed that apples healed all ailments. An Arabic author from the same era said, quote, "Its scent cheers my soul and renews my strength and restores my breath." Early in the century, an article in the American Medicine magazine praised the apple as, quote, "therapeutically effective in all conditions of acidosis, gout, rheumatism, jaundice, and even liver and gallbladder problems, nervous skin disorders caused by sluggish liver, hyperacidity, and states of autointoxication. Modern researchers at Michigan State University call the apple the all-around health food. You know, here I can share with you some of the potent healing powers of apple. And think about it, how when it gets fermented, making apple cider. I love the cider, man. It was good stuff. You know, they lower both bad cholesterol and high cholesterol. That's the apple. The juice in apples are highly effective virus fighter. They help stabilize blood sugar, an important factor in controlling diabetes. They suppress appetite without robbing the body of necessary nutrients, so they great for dieters. If you're on a diet, apples are good for you. Depending on the need, they prevent constipation or help with diarrhea. It is amazing that you can take something like the apple and you can bite it. And if you've got diarrhea, it will help balance it. If you've got constipation, it'll help balance it. by just putting it in and just having even the aromatic flavor of it, and that the computer knows what to do with it. It knows what the body sends it to what body parts that can benefit from it. Apples prevent tooth decay. They contain chemicals that scientists believe are vital to stopping cancer. But what do we get? We get man trying to duplicate. Let's go back and talk about this seriously for a second. What got Adam and Eve in trouble? Trying to play God. Trying to have available what could take and heal them. Make them be the one that did it and not the creator. So with that in mind, we come in almost 2022. We are lacking drastically in our attempt to find out what God had to say about health, and we're taking and doing the same thing Adam and Eve did, trying to be God, and we keep getting kicked in the butt because God's not going to be mocked. So God is the answer. His creation, His food, I believe, should be where we focus. Oh, I could talk more about apples. There's so much. Apples are an excellent food source for diabetics and others who need to control blood sugar levels. They rank high among foods that best control blood sugar. Then I could go, and most of us don't really think too much about and what the benefits of apricots are, but they are there for our benefit. Barley, there is one company that all they sold was barley green, and they made it available, and people taking the barley green, and it goes back to biblical times, a land of wheat, barley, and vines, and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olives, and honey. There is a lad here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes, but what are they among so many? And they filled 12 basketfuls of the fragments of the live barley loaves, 5 barley loaves left over, had not been eaten. Barley, your green foods. I'm a big proponent of your barley green, your went blank there for a second. Go back and get one of them things for that memory, right? But spirulina, blue-green algae, those types of things. And we need it. We need it to go back in to put those minerals back in our body, help the body fight it. The Bible is filled with references to barley, which is among the earliest known and most nourishing grains ever to be cultivated. In fact, some scholars say the Feast of Unleavened Bread was an ancient barley harvest festival that became the celebration of the Passover. So, barley, very important for us to be able to put our lips on that and sink it into our system, into our stomach, and let it do what it needs to do. So that's what we had on that. Then beans. Here we go to grains again. Lentils, imported. I had for supper last night the 5-bean salad, or the 5-bean soup is what I had, that we serve at the Remedy This Naturally. And I like the 5-bean soup. It's very good. But beans, take thou upon the wheat and the barley and the beans and the lentils and the millet and fishes, and put them into one vessel, and make thee one bread loaf. And that's what's known as Ezekiel bread, by putting that together. Very good, very helpful, very beneficial to us. Skip over. Figs. I just really love figs. I'm so glad that this time of year we can get dried figs and be able to have them. In the Song of Solomon, for lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone, the flowers appear on the earth, and the time of the singing of the birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land. The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. Song of Solomon 2:11 forward. Simple figs. There we go, another one. And then, of course, talk about fish. And in Luke 24, and they offered him a piece of boiled fish and a honeycomb. And when he had eaten in their presence, he took what remains and gave it to them. And then in John 21, when therefore they had landed, they saw a fire ready and a fish laid on it, and bread. Jesus said to them, bring here some of the fishes you have caught. Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net in the land, full of large fishes, 153 in number. Got a fish fry. Very good. Fishing in the Sea of Galilee and the River Jordan was a huge industry. During the exile in Egypt, the Israelites learned to prize fish from the Red Sea. For the people of the Old Testament, there were precise dietary laws for seafood. So fish, important. Why? Let me just give you some examples of fish and what it does. Okay? Thins the blood, protects arteries from damage, inhibits blood clots, antithymic, reduces blood triglycerides, lowers LDL, blood cholesterol, lowers blood pressure, reduces risk of heart attack and stroke, eases symptom of rheumatoid arthritis, reduces risk of lupus, relieves migraine headaches, fights inflammation, helps regulate the immune system, inhibits cancer in animals and possibly humans, soothes bronchial asthma, combats early kidney disease. The Old Testament, take out the entrails of this fish and lay it on his heart and his gall and his liver, for it is necessary for useful medicine. And the gall is good for anointing the eyes, which with a white speck and it shall be cured. Back in 1985, the England Journal for Medicine recommended arthritis sufferers would benefit from eating fish once or twice a week. That's why we carry it remedied this naturally, the fish oils. You know, it has benefit. If you're not eating the fish, you still need the oil that comes along with it. So, great stuff, great stuff. You know, think about this for a moment. Remember before Alaska became a state, And the people in Alaska, called the Eskimos, they eat about 13 ounces of omega-3 rich seafood a day and rarely suffer from heart attacks. The same is true of Japanese fishermen and their families who consume an average of at least 7 ounces of fish daily. So, and what happened was, the Eskimos got introduced to sugar. And then they start having tooth decay. Before that, perfect white teeth. There was nothing there to destroy them, but the sugar did. So think about what's going on and what we can do about it. I will throw this one out because I know that if you are a woman and you're having very painful menstrual cramps, and that it could be triggered from this prostaglandins that cause so many other problems. So we need to get more involved in understanding what the fish oils will do and if the fish will be beneficial. The one, it's amazing to me. It's there for our use, but we kind of use it as an accent. But there is a glorious herb that is so beneficial, so helpful, and that it can make a difference. I have a relative of mine, they take and they make honey and garlic, and they use it as a medicine. In the case of this, I will step out and say that it's one of the world's oldest healing foods. It has been used both as a favorite food and as a powerful medicine. Even before Moses' time, led the children of Israel out of Egypt, let me get my technical thing right, into the wilderness. During those 40 years in the wilderness, Moses' followers lamented. We recommend the fish we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks, onions and garlic. And you can get garlic, if you're worried about the aroma that garlic gives you and the skin that has a tendency to let its aroma out, you can actually get odorless garlic and remedy this naturally. They've taken out the active ingredient that makes the smell there. But the magic and medicine of plants writes that garlic is, quoting, a good friend to mankind. Beside the flavor it adds to food, garlic is said to have given strength to the pyramid builders, courage to the Roman legions, and fighting spirit in English gamecocks. Garlic's medicinal uses have been documented for centuries. It was always a popular remedy for colds, sore throats, and coughs. Either eaten raw or taken in a syrup, which is made by boiling garlic cloves and water for half a day. Physicians and herbalists prescribe garlic as a diuretic and for intestinal disorders and rheumatism. The people who settled in America, the colonists, discovered that the Indians knew about the healing powers of the native species of garlic and relied on the plant to treat a variety of medicinal problems, from snake bite to intestinal worms. Garlic may have helped to cure many diseases because it is a potent antiseptic. It was used for that purpose both in World War I and World War II. So garlic and his cousin, onion, and I was reading something today in preparation for this time we were going to spend together, that about making an onion sandwich. Kind of cool. And the benefits of that sandwich. So onion, regarded highly for both health-giving and magical quantities in ancient cultures, garlic was one of the first foods to be deliberately cultivated, although wild varieties grew in abundance. So they had to right there and go pick it out in the backyard, had it available. Evidence of healing powers is detailed in 4,000-year-old records from the ancient kingdoms of Sumeria. Depictions of garlic have been discovered in the walls of Egyptian tombs and dates back 32,000 BC. Let's go back to right. How about 3,200 BC? I get that. Centuries before Joseph and his brothers settled in Egypt. During the same period, ancient records reveal that garlic was a principal ingredient in many remedies that Egyptian healers prescribed as cures for headaches, sore throats, and other complaints. And so by the time Moses, garlic was already being used as an anticoagulant, antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor agent, as a relief for flatulence, a diuretic, a sedative, a poultice, and a cure for intestinal parasites. At least 67 different varieties of garlic and onions have been identified as growing in the Holy Land. So it's little wonder the ancient Israelites developed a fondness for it centuries ago. It may be for the health and reason that the Talmud specifies that several different foods are to be seasoned with garlic regularly. Has a purpose. So, garlic may help protect against heart disease and stroke by lowering blood pressure. It contains allylic sulfides, which may neutralize carcinogens. In certain fact, garlic has been linked to lower rates of stomach cancer. You know, I could go on and keep talking about garlic, but there are other things that are important. Oh, let's do the tips on the garlic. I can't pass them by. After you have eaten fresh garlic, munch on a sprig or two of parsley. Its chlorophyll reduces the garlic aroma. To get the garlic off your hands, rub with salt and lemon juice and then rinse. Okay? Another little tip on garlic is also heart friendly. Scores of studies around the world have focused on garlic's astonishing ability to fight hypertension, prevent embolism or blood clot, and lower bad cholesterol. It's there. Garlic. Many doctors, I love this part, are now going back to ancient folklore and home remedies which call for garlic as a decongestant and an expectorant in the treatment of common colds and chronic bronchitis. Like chili peppers and other hot, pungent foods, garlic works by turning on the body's natural fire-fighting faucets to cool the heat. This provokes lung and bronchial tubes to produce more fluids, which in turn thins the mucus and helps fluid out of the body. While cooking may destroy or reduce the allicin and weaken the garlic's potential, most of its therapeutic benefits remain. Cooking garlic still lowers blood cholesterol, for example, and works as a decongestant and cough medicine. When cooked raw or in an extended form, garlic may be one of the most potent natural healing foods we have. The ancient people of the Bible knew that the basic fact of life. Some of our scientists are just rediscovering it. Before the birth of Christ, God coming up here in 5 days, celebration that is, the Israelites were using garlic as a major ingredient in their food as well as their medicine. In fact, they were so fond of garlic and considered so much of it that they consumed a lot of it. That they were known that they probably were the proudest garlic eaters. You know, they were the Mishnah, collection of Jewish tradition. Then the other thing, grapes. There we're getting back to. You got the grapes, then you had the wine. What came first? Let's see how we're doing. We got about 4 more minutes before we get off of our Christmas red poinsettia for you to be able to look and enjoy it from Remedy This Naturally. Come see us through the holiday. We will close at 2 on Christmas Eve and also 2 on New Year's Eve. But we'll be there to help you in your last minute shopping. Come get an herb pillow. Come get some of the things that we have available for you. That would be great Christmas gifts, especially for someone you know that wants to do the natural approach, that you can even give them a gift certificate if you like from Remedy This Naturally. You guys are so doggone special. We love you and we appreciate you. Appreciate that we can be part of keeping God's alive, keeping Him alive. And you want to end with Santa Claus coming to see the town? Here comes Santa Claus to the end of Remedy This Naturally show. I think this is fantastic. Come here, Santa Claus. Enjoy the show with me. Look at here, buddy. There you go.
You better watch out. You better not cry. You better eat healthy. And he'll tell you why.
You're so doggone good, buddy. I love you, Santa. Thanks for making your appearance at the last 2 minutes of the show here. That's going to be the best part of the show. Santa Claus coming in. But more than that, remember, the Christ child is the reason for the season.
Amen.
And we can have as much happiness and we can have as much fun and we can enjoy all the different rituals and things that have been passed on to us. But the main thing that's been passed on to us, that Christmas is the day for us to remember the Christ child. And what I've tried to do on this broadcast is share with you the healing foods of the Bible that is what God had available for His people. And then only until Adam and Eve got the butts kicked out, and we need to go ahead and get a few butts kicked out so the power of the holy healing power of Christ can do what it's supposed to do and act the way it's supposed to act, because God is the reason for the season. And I thank you that you are able to have that freedom, and let's continue to exercise it and make it available for us to enjoy. Remedy This Naturally in your life and your health. And we love you. Come see us, but most of all, come find out what God has available for you in His healing for your life and health. I'm your host, Claiborne Olsman. God bless, and may good health be yours.